as quickly as possible. Now, when I do my training, I condition a conditioned reinforcer, and that is okay, means that gets in conditioned as well. So in the beginning, I'll take a bowl of food, I'll set it on the table, and I'll say, and the dog looks at me, and I'll say, okay, and they get a reinforcement, or good. I don't care if you say purple. The dog doesn't speak English. It doesn't matter what word you use. Okay, you can say stop if that's what you want to. I don't care, but you just whatever you condition. So I'll before I feed them their meal, I'll say good, give them a treat. 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 Do 15 or 20 of those, and then place the bowl on the floor and say good. Go ahead and eat before every meal. So you're conditioning a word, and it's conditioning you too to say that word. Whether like I said, I don't care if it's good, okay, stop, stand on your head. I don't, make it short and easy though. That's the big thing.
Right.
And once you get yourself conditioned, the dog conditioned to that word, then you've got a little bit more time, because he understands that when you say that conditioned reinforcer, that good, because you're conditioning that as a reinforcer, that they're going to, something is coming. So you've got a little more time than you used to. So I don't do a lot of recalls with my dog. I know you were saying say their name or whatever to look at you, but I do a lot of when my dog looks at me saying good and reinforcing that. So I reinforce them for checking in. And the more often you reinforce them for checking in, the more often they're going to check in. So I try not to say their name or try to say a word that makes them look. I wait for them to do it. And I tell you what, the more reinforcement you give them for looking at you, the more you're going to get them looking at you. So
one of the reasons that we don't do clickers is partially because our clients can't, our recipients of our dogs can't use them very often. And so, and that's just not something we're trained with.
Yeah. I don't use clickers.
A couple people who do, but mostly don't.
Yeah, I don't use clickers. When I worked at SeaWorld, I worked at Sea Lion and Otter, and in the beginning we used to use clickers, and they always end up dropping or losing them, or where's my clicker? So we just went to just a verbal okay. Mm-hmm. That was our bridge. Yeah. And does anybody know what a bridge is?
Yes.
A bridge is just a word that bridges the gap from the time the behavior is emitted and the reward occurs.
Yeah.
So the okay, the good, all that is what we call a bridge. The same thing, a clicker is a bridge.
Right, and the goal is for it to be pretty quick.
Yeah.
Correct. Well, you want to get. It's like if the dog sits, you want to bridge and reinforce the sit. And sometimes in the beginning, as soon as they sit, you want to bridge that so they understand. I say sit, boom, they sit, they get rewarded. Now, I use sometimes two different bridges. I use a stay doing what you're doing, which would be good, and then okay, all done. Now, I don't say all done, but I say okay, that means they can get up and they can go away.
Right.
So if I send my dogs to their bed, they know to stay there if I say good and reinforce them. But if I say okay, they know they can get up and leave.
Okay. Yeah.
That's getting a little more complex, but that's something I do.
So we use release very often to release them from, like, if we have them wait for their food or we have them to do something. Yeah, we use release instead of okay, because okay we use it all the time. It's something we use pretty often.
Yeah. I've heard people say free.
Yeah.
But I have a hard time. Some people were saying free dog, and I'm going, wait a minute, no, I'm not giving my dog away.
I've always started out with a clicker because it's a distinctive sound, and like you said, it's very fast. But I also say yes at the same time. I use yes because it's not as often used in our regular English. We say yeah or a number of things, but nobody, very few people actually say yes with the big sis in it. And then, because that helps the bridge to just saying yes and deleting the clicker. So the dogs aren't on a click very often, but I find as a puppy, they respond to that really quickly. So I was wondering about the use of the word okay, because we use okay so often. Does that cause any confusion in some dogs where they think they're being reinforced something they have no idea what they did? You don't even know what they did because it's in your regular speech.
and I've had this conversation before, and the dogs really do understand when they're working with you and when they're not. But when you have a service dog and it's working with you all the time, yes, I can understand what you're saying, that you've got to be very careful about what you use that's in a common language or a word that you use in regular speaking.
I wonder if it's tone of voice that they can pick up on, where you use a similar tone of voice to say okay to them and okay to somebody else would be a little different.
I'll test my dogs though, and try to use different inflections, because I'll open a door and have them in a sit stay, and I'll go Oklahoma and stuff like that to try to get them to try to jump. And yeah, you're right. A lot of times it is the inflection of saying okay or Oklahoma, and they go wait a minute, that wasn't okay. And I make them come back and repeat it so that they are listening more to what you're saying, not the inflection.
Right. I do that when my dogs are waiting to eat. I'll make them wait. And then they know the word is release. So I'll say, ready, Red Rover, really? And they'll every time, but until I say release, they don't move. They might jerk a little bit.
Yeah, I've got Trigby. We're doing a whole morning routine with him on eating, where he has to really listen to what I'm saying, because I have different things that I want him to do before he gets released to eat. And I find just an intake of breath can have him halfway jumping up to do something, because he's anticipating that I'm going to say something that he can go do.
Yeah.
That's a good thing though. At least you've got his attention.
Yeah. Oh yeah. With food, we have his attention.
But that's where you've got to find other conditioned reinforcers. Wendy was talking about using the ball and having other things for them. You switch up. They get to go play retrieve to have the ball, or they get to play tug, or they get to get a rub down, or I did a talk the other day for the South Lake Chamber of Commerce, actually. And one of the things I talked about is building relationships and finding what works for each individual animal or person. And I used sea lions as an example. And I gave an example of 4 different sea lions that liked 4 different things as far as a reinforcer, but they were all tactile things, like a rub down or back scratched or whisker scratched or inside of their gum scratched, those kind of things. And that's what you got to find with your dogs too, is find out, because every dog's going to have a different reinforcer that makes that behavior be repeated. It's not always food.
Yeah, he does he's very tactile. He wants to be touched. I mean, he just demands it. I've got to ask, because I knew somebody who was a behaviorist, worked at SeaWorld and all those kinds of things. Did you ever know a Hannelore orca?
Mm-mm.
No, okay. Because I know she worked at SeaWorld and this and that, and I had her luckily as an instructor for a number of my dogs, and she was fabulous.
Yeah, I left SeaWorld in '99 after 16 years. Went to St. Louis for a few years, came back and did 5 more years at Discovery Cove doing the dolphin swim.
Well, she could have been a contemporary of at that time, but easily other aquarium somewhere.
Well, I'll tell you guys, I was very fortunate. I got a world-class training at working at SeaWorld. I had no idea what I was getting into in 1983 when it was a summer job for me. I was going to school to be a teacher and got asked to take a swim test, almost froze to death, and got the job. So it was April, sleeting rain in Ohio.
Different species.
Yeah.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, please.
Yes.
So what if there are times I'm a principal of a school and I have Capone, and he is very attentive most of the time. But there's times when I have to step away from him, and I've actually have him sitting in a spot, but he will bark to get my attention.
Can you ignore it?
Pardon me?
Can you ignore it?
I usually tell him quiet. And
now
that doesn't,
that's what I was talking about. But anything you do at that point could be reinforcing. By giving him attention, you're reinforcing that behavior.
Yeah, that's really what's happening, because he barks again.
Yeah, you're better off ignoring it.
It's okay.
And it may only be if he stops for in the beginning, maybe 3 seconds, and then saying good and reinforce that.
Okay.
and go to 5 seconds and 6 seconds and 10 seconds and 15 seconds and look for that time frame, that you get more and more time of he's understanding. Sit still and be quiet, and you're going to get reinforced.
Right. And same thing if I have to, occasionally I have to leave him in my office, so I'll close the door and he'll bark. And if I'm within earshot, I've been doing what I shouldn't have done, is staying quiet. But so just leave him, just ignore him. And he does settle down very quickly.
Mm-hmm.
As long as he's safe, as long as he can't get into something, hurt himself or hurt anybody else, then you're fine.
Yeah.
Right. And he hasn't. So that's great. Thank you. Helpful.
It's funny because Dillinger was having the same problem. Erica has Dillinger at her school. She's a teacher.
Yes.
She's in a private school, and she was having some issues. So I went down and worked with her, and basically what he just said, if she ignored him, he was fine. So just learning to ignore.
Good. Very good.
It's hard.
Thank you.
It's really hard because we want them to behave and we want them to succeed. So we're going to try to help them as much as we can. But when we're actually trying to think we're helping or hurting them.
Yeah. Yeah. And it may be something that you have to do like when nobody's at school to let him bark a little bit, you know?
Right. Yeah. Or just leave him in the office, go, do a few quick ones and
Yes.
Now when I come back in and he's quiet, and that's when I should say good job or good, that kind of thing, or thank you, or
Yep.
Okay.
And when he's in the room barking like that, I can't tell you how many times I've hidden outside the door and waited for him to get quiet, and then blast in the room and go, "Wow, you're a great dog!" So you gotta, sometimes set them up.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Good.
Set them up for success.
There you go.
Yep. Any other questions at this point? Go, Margaret. You got to turn your mute. You got to unmute yourself.
There you go. Sorry.
Yes.
Yeah, I'm learning the phone as well as the dogs. Yeah, Chutney's doing rather well, but I feel like I'm learning more than what Chutney's learning, to be honest with you, because not having trained a dog before, I'm finding that getting to the age he's getting to now, he's starting to pay more attention to me because he's more attached to me. He's around me all the time. We've started, when we're in the salon, allowing him to sit in the middle of the room so he's not running to the front door. And I did send a newsletter out to my clients to not greet him at the front door. Don't do that. Please come in. And if he's in the back of the space, then you can say hello to him, because they all want to say hello to him. But I found tonight when I was walking with Chutney, I take him up to the little town area and walk him. And I find I have to kind of sit for 10, 15 minutes or so just for him to take in the environment before he'll start walking for me. And if he turns a corner and he's unfamiliar, he'll just sit down. And so I end up stopping at that point and sitting. And I can't get his attention to look at me. He's busy trying to take in whatever he's taking in. And then when he does, I'll say, let's go. And he'll start walking for a bit. Is that just repetitive, that he has to know his environment before he does that? I mean, I'm finding that, you've got the booklet and it's like, oh, what dog does this at so many months? And really, I don't know if it works that way. I think, and I'm also dealing with the 2 dogs, remember?
Yeah.
So sometimes.
How old is Chutney?
Chutney is 4.5 months now.
Okay.
So he's really come along much better. But it's little things like that. He'll walk beside me, but he's not quite loose leashed yet. But he will walk to my side. Haven't even got to the other side yet. One accomplishment we had this week was opening up the back of the car every day. It took me about 1 full week. First day, he's anxious to get out and he won't sit. And then I made him sit. And I made him sit there and wait until I decided it was time for him to get out the car. Now, when I open up the trunk, he's sitting, waiting. So we're making progress. He doesn't jump out the car yet. I think he's very nervous about jumping, but I don't know, is he too young to jump out of the back of a Volvo, the bit higher up?
Yeah.
I think he's too young, so I just let him down because I'm a bit concerned about his growth plates and what have you, not getting damaged.
Yeah.
And but it's a lot of work. It's a lot of work. And but he's around his sister, I cannot get his attention. I've just recently been able to come in. You were talking about feeding them and make them sit and wait. Well, I saw somebody doing that on a video the other day, and I thought, oh gosh, I didn't even think of that. So now I'll come and I'll say, what are you supposed to do? And he sits down. But waiting is another challenge. You know, as soon as he sits down, he thinks, oh, that's me, I've got it. So there's a whole lot of sort of pieces of the puzzle to put together. Yes. And it's, you know, tonight was one, what I made him do, what we did down in Orlando was I had him put his paws up on the back of the car, and I said up, and I put his paws up there so he knows that that's the thing. So we worked on that tonight. But sometimes I feel like, oh, I listen to people talking about, oh, they've got the dog doing this. I feel like I'm really far behind, and don't want to challenge him. You know, I don't know. Do they all just go on their own time frame, or is it just this 24/7 that you're constantly working on them? Because I can't work 24/7 with him, but he's
you do get to sleep, Margaret.
Eh?
Said you do what? Sleep. You get to sleep. Doesn't have to be.
Right.
Yeah.
They'll get me well trained in that as well. And they're doing a better job of training me than I am training them. But yeah, I think they're. I mean, even Trifle, she's a very good little dog. She's not quite as far along as Chutney is, but I work with Chutney specifically and not with Trifle specifically. So, so he's doing better, but I can't get him to look at me. You know, look at me. I haven't worked on that yet to try to get his attention. And if I bounced a ball, he'd be off getting the ball.
So, well, you take the ball and you say, Chutney, watch me. And you put the ball up to your eyes. He's going to watch the ball. Watch me.
Watch the ball.
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, well, there you go. See, it's little things like that. I wasn't able to make it down to our training that Saturday, but hopefully I've got marked out for the next one. So I'm looking forward to that, because I did find that I got so much out of since I don't know much about training myself and I've watched YouTube a million times over. I really enjoyed when I was watching you. I was picking up a lot of things from you. So it's a shame that this situation creates not enough on.
Right. Well, that's kind of why we started picking up the Zoom trainings, why we're trying, you know, just so what we're definitely in contact more, you know, and also just so you know, anybody actually, if you have a question and you email Kate, and Kate doesn't know the answer, she will refer you out either to me or Sue or somebody. So don't hesitate to contact Kate and say, hey, I need to talk to one of your raisers. So somebody will get back to you. I mean, you know, as quickly as possible.
Yeah. But we're making progress.
Wendy, I have a question. This is Katie Lednar. We have Garth Brooks. So we recently brought home a family puppy, not through New Horizons, who found his voice day one. So already housebroken, he's doing great. Garth is 5 months, and our puppy, who's 12 weeks, has taught him when you need to poop, you bark to go outside. So before that, Garth never barked to go outside. But so he's been great, never had any real tummy issues, and sleeps through the night. However, this week he's had, you know, a little bit of a tummy issue, nothing, you know, to be concerned with, but he has to, like, he barks in the crate, like just one quick bark saying, I gotta go out, and he's serious about it because he's not a vocal dog. And it's, you know, 2 a.m. We're like, that's out of his normal behavior. We're gonna go outside. But I'm also concerned about, is he training us to bark and go outside? So when do we ignore and when do we take him out because he's got to bark?
How old is he?
He's 5 months.
So are you taking him out, like the last thing before you go to bed? Is he having an opportunity to go?
Absolutely. And this guy, Garth Brooks, since he was we had him for maybe 2 weeks, and he was sleeping through the night. Like, you know, an 11 p.m. and a 6 a.m. through the night, like no issue. So he's been incredible overnight crate wise. So this is out of his behavior pattern, but again, we don't want to reinforce you bark in the crate, you get out.
Right.
So
No,
we want to
absolutely.
balance that.
So I wonder what would happen if you ignored him.
Okay.
I mean, you know, I hate to say that if the dog really has to go, but if he's had an opportunity to go, he should
Yeah.
be okay, unless he's
Yeah.
having an issue.
No, I mean, and when he goes out, he'll pee, you know, and we tell him, we'll tell him to busy again to get a poo out of him. Cause I'm like, if you're waking me up at 2 a.m., I want something good out of it.
Yeah, I would just try to ignore him and maybe get up a little earlier, possibly. Cause yeah, you don't, once you start that process,
Mm-hmm.
yeah,
Okay. And I mean,
and see what happens.
and I guess, you know, for Pat, is he training us right now? Like, should I be concerned about that?
There's a couple questions I have. Is it the same time every night?
It's been new this week. And no, it's not the same. The other dog, the one that's, you know, 11 weeks old, so he has a much smaller window, so we need to listen. It's
Right.
ranging between 2 and 3 a.m. Garth Brooks the last 3 mornings has been what I mean, he's clockwork, 6 a.m. every morning. He tells us, thankfully my husband has the early shift. So 6 a.m. every morning, the boy's got an internal clock to the minute. So, but the 2-3 a.m. thing is new, and it's, yeah, that's why we're listening, but we also don't want to create a new habit.
Yeah, I would agree with Wendy though. If he has no issues, if he's not, you know, he doesn't have a loose stool or something like that, and you're not coming into a mess, I would test it for a night and see what happens.
Okay.
You don't want to get him used to going in his crate though. That's a horrible thing to try to get rid of.
Yeah, not
But
at
I
5
think
months
a lot of
old.
this has probably started from the new dog coming in,
Mm-hmm.
and the new dog is stirring, and he's causing him to wake up, and he's feeling the same thing before
Okay.
he sleeps in the night.
Should we
I would
put the
even try separating them, put one in one room and one in another if possible, and see what you get. Just experiment around with it. You're not doing anything wrong. But if you do have an issue now where he's getting up at 2 and you start having him wet in the kennel or go in the kennel, then you got to start at 2, go to 2:30, go to 3, go to 3:30, go to 4, and work your way through it over the next couple of weeks to get him back to the 6 a.m. Because
perfect?
somewhere along the line, it got reinforced of him getting out.
Mhm.
Or you have to go the other way, and you got to wake up at 1:30 and like take him out, and then 2, and then 3, and then on from there. So to try to cure it if he starts going in his crate. So
Okay.
it's one of those things where I would see one night, see what happens, and then follow up with Wendy. Wendy sounds like she's got a really good handle on this and how to work your way through it.
Absolutely. I appreciate that, both of y'all. It's good advice. I think we'll try separating them because it definitely is new behavior since new puppy came in. So I think we'll start with separating them because he loves to sleep. I mean, Garth Brooks loves to sleep. So
Yeah. Okay, so
Thank you.
before we ask any more questions, Pat, if you would just speak a little bit about loose leash walking, that's something that all of us are constantly working on, because it's so important that when our dogs go to their person that they know how to walk on a leash properly. So if you would address that, and then we'll let people ask questions.
Okay. Well, it starts right back at the beginning, like we talked about. You've got to get the dog's attention and get them to look up your face. And I don't go look at me or anything like that. I wait for them to look up and I say good and I reward. And once I've got that, then I'll start taking a couple of steps backwards. I don't try to walk forward with my dog on my left side. I walk backwards, my dog facing me, and I'm facing the dog. And the dog's getting reinforced for looking up at me. Every time it looks up at me as I take a step backwards, it's a good and reinforced. Once I get that where I can walk backwards and then turn to my right and walk backwards, because if you always turn to your right, your dog's always going to end up right in front of you if you have your leash set right. If your leash is too long or it's going to wrap around your legs, then you're in trouble. So you have your leash. I keep my leash in my right hand, and I hold it where it's a nice gentle loop down there to a J and back up to the collar. So if a dog does try to run around me either side, he can't make it all the way around. And I start backing up and I'm saying good and rewarding with my left. Now that in the beginning, I do have the food in my left hand. So the dog knows that. Once I get the dog to understand that when they hear good, they're going to get reinforced, then I go to either to the pocket or to a belt feeding bag. And then same thing. Once I get them watching me and walking backwards and I feel confident, I will start to walk backwards. I'll turn to my right, but I'm not going to do a straight line. I'm going to do a counterclockwise circle. The dog is on the outside of the circle. Have you ever watched a marching band? The person on the inside is barely moving their feet, but the person on the outside edge is moving very quickly. If you keep moving to your right, always turning to your right, the dog is always going to be on that outside. And even if they go faster than you, if you keep turning to your right, they're going to not be able to catch up. If they run in front of me, I stop, wait. Do you look at me? I say, good. I turn to my right and I start again. So I'm always turning to my, it's better if I showed you guys this sometime, but that's basically how I do it, is I'm always turning dogs on the outside until I get them checking in. I'm always looking for them checking in and looking to get attention. When they look and get attention, they get either the verbal good or they get the good and a reinforcement of some kind, whether it be food, scratch on the head, tennis ball comes out, here, you carry this for me, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
But it's all about attention.
Yeah. So Rochelle, I was thinking of you in particular with Owen. Just really, so when you know you have a dog that has an issue with loose leash walking, and so just taking the time with them, it's not going to happen on one walk or 5 walks. Because I know we have a couple of dogs who really have an issue, but if you missed our in-person training, the director talked about that. She came towards the end and we were kind of doing the box with some dogs, and that was helpful. Very similar to what you're talking about.
Yes, and
but right now.
Oh, I'm sorry. I was gonna say he'll check in only if I have a bag of food. If I walk him without a bag of food, it's like I don't exist. My hands, he sees my hands, but he doesn't check in with me.
But if you don't move,
that's where when I do the food reinforcement like that in the beginning, even and again, guys, we got to condition that whatever word you use as a bridge. Mm-hmm. So before I feed them their meals, I set that bowl on the counter, and when they look up at me, and I may have a handful of kibble right here, and that's where they're looking. They're going to look at my hand up here. They look at my eyes. Good, reinforce. Good, reinforce. Do 10 or 15 of those every meal. That's twice a day usually, sometimes 3. Look at how many times you've got conditioning those reinforcers and are reinforcing them looking at you. Then you can get away from having it in your hand to just having the bowl sitting on the counter. They look at you, you go, good, you reach in the bowl and give them a piece of kibble. Good, give them a piece of kibble. That's going to build that. So it's not them looking at and following the hands, it's them looking at your face that they start associating it with.
Right, like I've been putting my hands up by my face.
In the beginning, you're going to bring your hand up because you want them looking up there. But then you're going to fade that away, and it's going to be this, they look at me, good, and they get the reinforcement. And again, it's just their regular kibble, the regular dog food. It's not special treats. What's that?
I said that is what I've been doing. I've been taking his kibble, and we start up here, and then now we move our hands to the sides, and then I put him behind my back, and he'll look at me, but it does not translate to when we go outside, when we're walking, if I don't have kibble.
Okay, yeah, he hasn't gotten it all the way yet. And another thing I was going to say, guys, until you teach them attention and loose leash walking, going for a walk with all the sights and sounds and smells out there, it's going to be next to impossible to get them to walk at your side, because that's a smorgasbord of smells and sounds. It could have been the neighbor's dog peeing out there. There could have been a squirrel just ran by. Look at all those different stimuli that dog's got to deal with. They're not ready for that. Find a nice neutral place inside your house to do that. And then if you need to exercise them, because a walk is not an exercise for these young puppies. A walk is just a warm up. Okay. You're better off taking them in the backyard and playing ball for a half hour and then take them for a walk when they're tired than you are just to take them for a walk for exercise. Yep. Any other questions?
Yeah.
Does that answer it? Does that help?
Yeah. When I get home after work, I take Hess and Quinn outside and I play ball for 15, 20 minutes, 25 minutes, because I know he's home with my husband, but he's been home all day and he's ready to play. And so we go out and we just throw the ball over and over and over again. He loves to, and then at that point he's ready to go for a walk. So
Owen plays with my dog all day long, and I walk them separately. They don't go out at the same time. He is very overwhelmed, Pat, by smells. I mean, a duck, a bird, anything. But if I have that food in my hand, then I'll always have his attention. So I can't figure out, I've had him for over 2 months, and I've been doing this for 2 months, and I can't figure out that in between, like I tried random reinforcement but I still have to have that kibble in my hand for him to watch me. And then if I don't give him the treat, he just keeps looking at me, and then he actually steps in front of me because he's like, wait, she didn't give it to me. So I don't want him to learn to come in front when I'm walking, but I haven't figured out how to randomize it enough to try to wean him off of the food.
Okay, I'll give you another example that'll help it. Another thing to do. Do you have a bed or a place that they can go to in the house where they have to go lay down while you're sitting around in the house?
I have a bed. I don't force them to go lay down, but yes.
Okay. Well, example I have is we had a house that had hardwood floors. I had a bull mastiff and 2 Australian shepherds. We couldn't have them racing around the house, sliding around on the wood floors. So I bought I don't know, it was probably a 5x10 piece of carpeting that I stuck in the room, and that was their bed. That was where they had to go lay down when they were in that part of the house. And what I taught them to do is go lay down. And if they looked at me while they were laying down over there, I said good and reinforced them. Now, I got really good at targeting the dog that looked at me and being able to toss the treat to the right dog. But what it did is also taught my dogs to check in with me randomly, and they would get reinforced.
Okay.
So I didn't have to have food in my hand. I didn't have to always have them looking at me or ask them to look at me or anything. When they looked, they got reinforced. Now, I would come home from training somebody else's dog, and I'd have my dogs laying there, and I had just a bowl of kibble sitting next to me. I had to be careful because if I had something I was eating, I didn't want to eat the kibble. I had to eat what I was eating. But they would look at me, and I'd say, good, and toss them the treat. And you would be surprised how often my dogs would check in. They wouldn't get up from their downstay, but they would check and look at me to get that treat. So try to find other places you can do it, whether they're out going to the potty and they turn and look at you, good, and they come running over to you and give it. Don't go to them, have them come to you and get the treat.
Okay.
So they're checking in, and they're getting reinforced for doing that. Anytime they glance at you, whatever your condition reinforcer or your bridge is, say it. Say good. So
Okay.
you start getting them understanding, look at me, and I'm going to get reinforced for that everywhere. And that'll get you away from having to have it in your hands.
Okay, thank you.
So when he talks about the bridge, that though for us, those are our markers. That's it. Good job. Yes. Okay. And we've talked about those lots of times. So any other questions about loose leash walking for Pat?
I have a question, but it's not about loose leash walking.
That's fine, Dina.
I missed the first 10 minutes, so I don't know if I missed this part, but I know, sorry. So I know that I'm one of a few of us that have these dogs. So I have Victor, and he'll be 2 in May. And he was in prison from 8 weeks to 18 months. So we're dealing with, he's very smart, knows all his commands, but the fear of the unknown for him is very difficult. I had to take my nephew to the airport today, so I took him with me, and the terrazzo floor drives him crazy. Sliding doors, hallways, he can't see the end. So it's hard because I've trained a lot of puppies and I've had older dogs, but I've never had an older dog who had the fear that's 70 pounds. So I'm just wondering if there's any techniques that you can help us with that would help these big dogs, because he's in a fight or flight mode when he gets scared, and he'll pull the leash and take his collar right off. So I'm just trying to figure out how to help him.
Number one, you're going to have to take it slow. he missed somewhere along the line. And I talking with Wendy a little bit here went on with some of these dogs that got stuck where they were and didn't get the socialization and stimulation that they needed. I'm trying to remember the name of the article, but it's an old article. I think it's called The Rule of Seven. And
Yes,
it's,
I've heard of that, about the textures.
The breeder that you took by 7 weeks of age, they had to be on 7 different kinds of flooring. They had to eat out of 7 different kinds of bowls. They had to, 7 different kinds of surfaces to walk on or lay on and that kind of thing. So I would revert back to a puppy. Take him like he's a clean slate, go back to he was, he's an 8-week-old puppy, and start from the beginning. And I would use, again, guys, I use their regular meals, and I use that as their rewards. If you had all the money you needed, you had dollar bills falling out of your pockets, and you opened your sock drawer and there was just money in there, and I asked you to come over and wash my car for $20, you tell me to go take a hike. If your dog looks at that bowl of food on the floor, that's $1 million to your dog. And he doesn't have to listen, or she doesn't have to listen to anything you're saying, because he's already had all his needs taken care of. So instead of just giving him a free bowl of food, teach him all these things with it. He's still going to eat. They're just going to get it for doing things for you. Make sense? And you don't have to give the whole.
Right, and I understand. I do that. I've done that before. It's just the hard part is he's almost 2, and so even just going to a store is difficult because he's just fearful of a lot of stuff. And I mean, but he's good. He knows how to sit. He knows how to stand. He knows all of his commands totally, and he'll do those on demand. It's just, we sat outside the Aldi for about 15 minutes the other day and just watched the door open and close, open and close, open and close. And that's the only thing I can think of how to be able to, get this so he's not sensitive to it anymore. So
was he okay with that? Was he okay
sat
with
there?
That?
Not in the end. No, he's still scared of the doors.
Okay. What I would do is I had a sheepdog that was afraid of everything. So we spent a lot of weeks in the back of a Publix parking lot. So we started as far away from all the cars parking as we could. And we just put the dog in the car. We opened the tailgate of the SUV, sat there when the dog was calm, and there was nobody around us. But he could see and hear all the cars and the people going in and out of Publix and all that. And that was enough to startle him and make him uneasy. But as soon as he settled, we said good, and we rewarded him. And we only stayed for a few minutes after he probably got 3 or 4 rewards in, closed the door and took him home. And their homework that week was to do that every day. The next week, we moved 1 island closer. So we were closer to the cars. The next week, we moved even closer. Till finally, we were walking on the sidewalk in front of the Publix, and the dog was okay with all the activity and things going on. It took several weeks to get there, but we slowly approximated and taught him that it was okay to see all this stuff going on in places that he was not familiar with. So it was, sometimes we want them to succeed so bad that we try to push them too fast for what they're going to do. And one dog may be able to be pushed, but another dog may take 8 steps instead of 2. So you've got to look and see what you're getting. And if ever you revert, if our dog fails at a certain level, you need to step back 1 and go back and build that reinforcement history and then keep moving forward. So you're doing the right thing, but you go ahead and keep teaching in a neutral environment that he's used to, but then start taking him out and desensitizing him to new environments. But don't think that he's going to walk along that sidewalk or stay close to those doors, and don't push it too long. That's the biggest thing trainers do is I can get 1 more. I can get 1 more step. And we push it, and then we have to step back. So get a couple of good rewards in and move on.
I think that's the hardest thing, is because we want the dogs to be part of our day. And the thing is that, like I had to take my nephew who's 13 into the airport to drop him off. And so it's not like I could stop right at the beginning. Like it was kind of like we had to go through the whole process. So when we left, like I sat on that tram that went back and forth at TPA like 15 times because I just waited till he chilled out, gave him a treat, and we just sat on that tram until he understood the doors opened and closed and people got on and off. But I think that's the hardest thing, is we all have to live our life still.
Right.
And I need to, yeah.
Yeah.
So.
Well, that's where you have to decide, okay, do I have time to take him and give him that experience, or do I hold off and do it another time? I mean,
or is he ready? Is he ready for that experience?
Right.
That's the other thing. It's like, if somebody's afraid of heights, I'm not going to hold them by their ankles over the side of the building until they get used to it. So we've got to be there for them and have the better judgment. And maybe it's not the good day to take him to the airport. He's not ready for that, if we can.
Yeah.
And again, guys, I don't know how you guys have your program set up. I'm just speaking for myself, how I would do it. Right. If I felt I wasn't ready, I wouldn't take him there yet.
Well, and we haven't really experienced so many dogs with fear issues, but because of COVID, so many dogs got stuck and couldn't get out. And so, I mean, none of our dogs have been left in prison for, at least it was maybe years ago, but not recently. It just isn't a thing anymore. They're in there from 4 to 6 months usually, and then they're out. And so it's unfortunate that we have several dogs who are dealing with that. So I think we've talked about taking it slow, taking time, and just giving them the time they need. It might, maybe they're closer to 3 before they get placed. Maybe they're a little bit older.
And that's not a bad thing.
No.
And the other thing is look at all these experienced trainers you're going to have now that know how to deal with this.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yep.
It's all a learning experience for everybody.
That's right.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's one of the things that I just said, that I learned is when I go to start a new process, I'm now tuning into the fact that he might not be ready for that particular part of it, and I move on to something else. But somebody did tell me about using the kibble for not giving it to him in a bowl, and I hadn't been doing that because I have the 2 dogs. I thought, oh, it's 7 o'clock, it's 7 o'clock in the morning. Let's just put the food down. I make them sit, and then they come to it. But I think I need to start that for lunchtime at least. Can you, if you're going to do it, can you put their food down in the morning and use it on the rest of the day? Or is it once you start it, you have to do it until they actually get it looking at you? When do you go from that to putting their food back in their bowl? I mean, when they've actually got it, as far as looking at you. What is it? Or when you're walking?
Yeah, it's going to depend on every dog. And what I'll tell my homeowners when they call me or are doing in-home dog training, for example, if the dog gets 2 cups of food a day, they're getting a cup in the morning, a cup in the afternoon or evening. I tell them take half of that out, half a cup from the morning, half a cup from the evening, and use that as reinforcers throughout the day.
So they're still hungry.
And so they still have attention. So when you put these little stations, and I'll put anywhere from 10 to 15 little stations around the house. So when I go from the kitchen to the family room to the bedroom or wherever the dog's following me, I've got reinforcement. I don't have to say, hang on, I got to run to the pantry and get it. It's there, it's ready to go. So then I found
myself in that position a few times where I haven't got what I should have on me. I go, shit, I've gone without it. And that doesn't work at all. I know that.
But as far as the meals, I usually only do 10 or 15 pieces and then give them the rest.
Okay. All right. Yeah.
Because you've got 2 puppies, it would probably benefit you to have both of them sit. And I mean,
oh yes, I do. Especially first thing in the morning. We've got a little routine in the morning now.
Okay, good.
That we do, and she's included in that because she has to be, because he's 40 pounds now. He's a big boy. And and she tends to be the little ruler of the roost. So the lady that was talking about barking, oh yeah, I totally ignored that, because Trifle will give a little bark in the morning, and that's her telling me she's ready and she's the little boss. If I don't pay attention to her, she doesn't like that at all. But if I don't pay attention to her, he just sits there. He'll be sitting in his kennel and going, okay, she's talking for me. And I just ignore them. And ignoring them really does work. I guess it's like putting a child down on their bed to their bed. If you go in when they cry, they're going to do it all the time.
Yep.
So, you know, I often go back to those analogies of, what did you do with your child? Well, I didn't feed them out my hand, but I did not pay attention to them when they were, you know, trying to get your attention, which is simply that.
Right.
So,
yep, that's true.
yeah, I'm enjoying this, learning this dog training, but by gosh, the hat's off to you. I mean, it must take years to get to a place where you've got this constant knowledge, and I'm enjoying it. I'm finding out something about myself that I enjoy, and fortunately I've got a great dog. He's a really good dog, but sometimes I have to give myself a break because I think it takes years to learn this and to be that, you know, that good at it. So
to become automatic.
Yeah. When I was watching you with the dogs, I thought, oh, why can't I do that? But I'm not there yet. I haven't graduated myself.
11 years ago.
Exactly. You've got 11 years on me. So, but yeah, but it's a lot of fun, and it's really great hearing those pointers. And I appreciate him being on tonight because it has kind of given me some things to think about. Yeah.
Good. Anybody else have questions just about loose leash walking? Say that 5 times real fast. Or fear issues that you might be having, or any issues you might be having at all.
This is Stephanie Ahmed. I have an issue I'd like to discuss. Thank you. I'm new to this, just picked up Bravo on Friday, 22 month golden.
Okay.
And, you know, I'm new to the whole concept of training and whatnot. He's a super good dog, gentle spirit, great on the leash. You know, it does definitely, I do see some fears in him, but he's willing to overcome them and kind of keep going forward. So that's not the issue. But what is the issue is this dog can be like perfect all day long. And then you come into the house and it's dinner time and you start to cook. And he is like jumping up to the counter. He's counter surfing, dumpster diving. That's an exaggeration, but you get the gist. So that's one thing that's a problem, because he's even jumped up towards my stove. Now it hasn't been on. So that's, you know, he hasn't injured himself, but I'm really worried about that jumping up behavior.
Yes.
The other thing, he's like, you know, full water, and, you know, he has access to water and food all the time, and like would prefer to drink from a toilet.
Has he had, like when you're talking about the kitchen time, has he had a chance to play outside, like just be a dog?
So I've been bringing him with me to the office. He gets probably 4 walks a day that are varying lengths, but the shortest would be like a 15-minute walk, say, to just go out and go to the bathroom in the middle of the day. There are toys in the office that I've purchased for him, like balls and things like that. And we definitely throw the ball, and he has time to do that. He has a toy here at the house that he really seems to get riled up with. It's a frog with super long legs, and he loves to do a little tug of war with that.
Mm-hmm.
But it seems like when he starts to play with that toy, even some of his defiance comes out. Like then he's going to climb up on the couch, which is not something he does otherwise. It's like you get that toy and it gets him kind of going, you know? So don't know, but I'm concerned about the jumping up at the counter primarily. I can make the toy disappear, quite frankly. Right. But the jumping up on the counter does concern me. And even today when he jumped up on the couch, you know, when I was asking him to get down, he did seem a little defiant. Like instead of getting down, he picked a more comfortable position and kind of dug in a little bit on that.
So you have to be really firm, like off. I mean, that's.
Trust me, I'm firm.
Okay.
I'm a nurse, but I worked in jail for 4 years. I'm firm. I definitely, he recognizes me as, I would say, 98% of the time as the alpha. Like this is a very small piece of behavior that we're seeing, but it's like disturbing. You know what I mean? Like to see him jumping up at the counter and having to
How
tell him.
long have you had him?
I only got him on Friday, so
Okay,
we're still in an
He's
adjustment.
testing you.
Yeah,
He's
maybe
testing
just
you.
testing his boundaries.
I think so. I mean, that's what we have seen in the past with our dogs.
Okay,
And you've only had him a few days. So
he's super good all the rest of the time.
yeah, I might leash him in the house when when it's that it could be an issue. I would leash him and put the leash under your foot, and so that you can continue and you don't really have to pay attention to him.
That's a great idea, because when I have been in places where food is served with him, and I live in a place where there's lots of restaurants and things, so if you're walking down the sidewalk with him, people are having meals on either side that are like nose level, and he is not going for that. Like he is super good, loose leash, not, like I don't feel like he's out of control, but you get him in the house and he's not on a leash and you're cooking a meal and then all of a sudden he's like, we're doing it my way.
Yeah. Pat, what do you, any suggestions?
I would definitely teach him a place to go, but I wouldn't try to do it the whole time you're cooking. So I would teach him go over and lay down and get reinforced for being somewhere else. You got to give him an incompatible behavior that's just as reinforcing as getting on the counter and getting some off the counter. I don't know, maybe somewhere along the line he got something off of a counter and that's why he's doing it.
It's funny because I picked him up Friday and then I didn't have, this email came in late from Kate that I hadn't seen. And she said, the one thing I'd advise you is he counter surfed and he got cookies off a counter at one point. And so I was like, wow, I wished I had read this Friday. It was Sunday. And he was already experiencing the problem with it.
I had a problem with Trippy like that. And I put a blue rug on the floor because dogs can see blue very good. And I had him stay on that rug. I put him on a sit down. And when I would walk past, as I was fixing stuff in the kitchen, he would get a little tiny treat, some of his regular dog food out of his bowl. And so he learned pretty quickly in the kitchen, if I'm working on stuff, he stays on his blue rug. That's his place. That's his spot to be. And it worked out pretty well.
Okay.
And you teach a word, whether it be bed or place or something like that, that he go to teach him to go to and go lay down. And same thing when he gets all riled up, go to your bed. And if he knows get to my bed as fast as I can, and I'm going to get reinforced, he's going to go to his bed and get reinforced.
Okay.
Yeah.
That's great. It's essentially the same behavior in some ways then.
Yeah.
One of the things I wanted to add on to the talk about acclimating to fearful situations is I found that if you let the dog go at his own pace, he acclimates to things as you go along, getting a little closer, that kind of thing. As you go along, they get faster and better at it. There's like a light at the end of the tunnel. The first couple of scary things might take a couple of weeks to get over. And the next one can take a couple of days, down to a couple hours. So they learn inside behavior that helps them acclimate to new things. They know how to do it. So it's not like you have to teach him the entire world as a new thing. He'll learn how to do it himself.
It's also, he's getting confidence in you.
Yes.
And understanding and building that relationship that you're not going to put him in harm's way.
Yeah, no pushing. Let him stay in his comfort zone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, anybody else? Any other questions that you might have? I will stay on a little bit extra if you have questions about your specific dog that you would like to ask. I want to say, Pat, thank you so much. This has been extremely helpful. Always good to hear it from somebody else. And we appreciate it. If you ever wanted to share videos with me or anything of some training that you've done of a dog, I would love to have those. And I can share them with our group if you're willing to let me do that. So, every reinforcement we get is helpful.
I'd love if you keep.
Wendy, I have a question.
Come out and find one of your trainings someday, Wendy, if you could send me where you're going.
Yes, absolutely. Yes, we have a training in Winter Park on the end of March 27th. That's our next in-person training. Yep.
Okay.
So I can.
I will do my best.
When-
My wife is making me go to Key West that week for our 30th
Oh,
wedding
Good for
anniversary.
you. I'd much rather do that. Although I do love the dogs. Go ahead, Etta. What did you have?
Wendy, I have a question for Pat.
Okay.
Because of COVID, not being able to socialize Blackjack around other dogs, just on my own dogs, we go out into public. If we come across the dog, he barks at him. Have you got any suggestions for that? He's not being aggressive. I think he just wants more to play, but he comes across the dog, he'll bark at it.
It sounds like if it's not aggression, he's just unknown of what that is. So Wendy and I just had this conversation about one of her dogs that she's working with. And we talked about finding what the trigger point is. Is it 20 feet away and he starts to bark? Is it 30 feet away? Whatever it is. So what you've got to find out is what that distance is. And if let's say it's 30 feet away that he starts to bark. So when the dog is 35 feet away and he's not barking, you need to say good and reinforce him. And then get to 30 feet and then to 20 feet. So he starts understanding when he sees another dog, don't bark, turn and look at mom, and I get reinforced. So and what happens a lot of times, and especially with aggressive dogs or dogs that are dog aggressive, or we think they are, often than not, they're just afraid. So we start seeing that person or another dog, and that leash between us and the dog becomes a telephone wire, and we start tensing up, and the dog feels that, and they see something out in their environment and they go, oh, that's making mom or dad unhappy. We need to bark and look mean to make that bad thing go away and protect our parents or whatever it may be they're thinking. So what we have to do is relax, let the dog settle, find a distance that they're not reacting, and reinforce that, and then slowly approximate it closer and closer and closer.
Okay, that helps. Usually if we see a dog, we'll turn around and go the other way and try and get away from that trigger.
Go the other way. That's not a good thing. A dog turning tail to another dog is not a positive situation for a dog. They don't want to turn. That's them submitting. So they may try to pull to get away from you at that point, because that's them turning tail and running, and they don't want to do that.
Okay. Thank you.
Yep.
All right. Is everybody good? Yes. All right, Pat, thank you so much. We appreciate your
Welcome.
time.
Bye, guys. Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Wendy, did you get my videos?
I think I did.
Okay. I just want to make sure.
No, I'm glad that you asked me, because now I need to go and look. I did. They're here. Okay. I think I looked at them, and then
Yeah, I know. It
You
took
know-
me like 3 days to do them for you. And then I did them. I'm like, yay. And then I sent them. It was like a Sunday night. So,
I'm so sorry. I
No,
will
that's okay.
look at them again, and I will respond to you.
and thank you for doing a South streaming.
Yay. I'm excited.
Yay. 'Cause I think Owen needs some in-person help.
Yes. Yep. Yeah. So anybody who's from up here and wants to go south at the end of April, we're going to go south and do a training at the new trainings facility. So it'll be fun. I'm excited.
Wendy,
Yes.
Wendy, and everybody else, I got puppies that need puppy raisers in 3 weeks. Come
I
on,
see that
guys,
little baby.
talk to your friends, talk to
I
you
did.
guys.
I did. I sent one of my friends to apply to be a puppy raiser.
Yay.
Oh.
This
But
is
she's
one
down
guy.
here. She's by
This
the
is-
she lives by the ranch.
Right. But the
Okay.
puppies would still come from up here.
Yeah.
Yeah. This one is Anne. She's
my gosh, so
Abilene,
cute.
Abilene's puppy.
Oh.
She was just a one puppy in the litter.
I
like that name.
Oh yeah, I'm sure you do, Anne.
Just like Quinn.
Yeah.
Wendy,
just
I
like
have a
Quinn.
question.
Yes.
Alvin finally got fixed. Woohoo.
Woohoo.
However, he is more hyper than ever. But I would say just the stuff wearing off, and we're trying to keep him settled.
Because the 10 to 14 day time sucks, but yeah.
It really does. I'm not really, what should I be doing with him right now? Because all I'm really doing is kind of just slowly walking just around the house, because I don't want him getting too anxious.
Right. How many days has it been?
It's only been a week.
Oh, he can go outside and go for a walk. He can't run, but he could go.
Oh, he tries. That's the problem. He just wants, when we're out and about, with something still getting his interest, he wants to jump and get nuts, how he does with the pulling and trying to pull towards them. So that's why I was trying to keep him closer to the house. I take him out. We went to, like, where'd we go today? The gym today, and some other places. Oh, and the vet. I took him to introduce him. And that was smells galore. But anyways, he's really, right now with the surgery, he is actually, how he likes to stand on his back legs a lot. He is doing that more.
Oh, that's so funny.
And I'm like, and if I leave, like today for a few minutes, the second trip I went out, I left him here with my son to watch him with, Amarillo. And when I got back, this dog acts like he hadn't seen me in a week.
Yeah.
And there's no, I have to literally almost sit on the floor to keep him from jumping.
So with that situation, like if he's going to be like that, I would have a leash on him when you come in the door. And then I would step on the leash and ignore him.
Okay.
You know what I mean? Have the leash, you step on it, and then I would not say anything to him until he calms himself down. And you may have to stand there for 5 minutes, 10 minutes until until he realizes that you're going to come. I wouldn't even look at him.
Okay.
Wouldn't even look at him. And once he settles, the second he settles, then very calmly, good dog, good settle. But he just needs to learn that that's not okay.
Yeah, no, he's actually trying to be more hyper, I think, now.
Well, because he's been
he did
to be down. He's had, not been able to play.
Right.
Yeah.
And so, I just wanted to check, because I didn't want to do too much, because he gets so excited about everything.
Right. So it's seven days past, right? His incision must be pretty much healed.
Well, tomorrow will be 7 days.
Okay. So I would wait the full time to let him actually run. But if he's, you may just have to leash him a lot, until he learns. He's how old is Alvin now?
I think next month he'll be 2, if I'm right.
Yeah. So, he's not a young.
He's still young.
He's older, but.
If he still has stitches, no running or jumping, because those metal stitches will rip right out.
Right.
Then you've got
so there, I know, hey, leave it. I noticed that the neutering is really small. I don't know if Elvin's is, but like for Hess, it was super small, and it healed up like so much quicker than they used to. So I don't know if they're doing it differently now or what, but it was.
It seemed like it was only about an inch, if that.
It's super small.
Yeah.
So within a few days, it's healing up. I still wouldn't let him run around, and the jumping he shouldn't be doing anyway. He should, when he greets you, if he's going to do that, I would snap a leash on him and step on that leash and wait for him to settle.
Okay, well, I'll start doing that with him in the mornings too, when I get him out of the kennel.
Okay. Are you making him wait when he?
Yes.
Okay.
And we wait for the food and all that, but in the morning, what I do when I get him out is I usually take him out to go busy and do his thing.
Mm-hmm.
But I think what I'm going to have to do, the other day, I just went and I did the laundry, got the laundry started and did other things before just taking him out to let him settle down.
Good. That's okay. Nothing wrong
because
with
he's very anxious to get out that door.
Well, he's going to have to wait on your time.
Okay. I just want to check. I'm trying to, I don't want him to get behind.
And have to wait for you for a little bit.
Okay.
Nothing wrong with that. Nope.
I guess that's it for me.
Okay.
We got 1 week left. He's in the cone of shame.
Oh yeah, I know. They hate those. They hate
I've
those.
tried to take it off here and there to give him a break, but he goes to licking. So
So yeah, so what I do sometimes is I would take the cone off and then I'd put a leash on Hess and I would keep him near me so that I could see what he was doing, just to give him a break from it.
okay.
So
Well, I'll do that when he sits with me, because during the day while we do our school, he sits with me. So I'll take it off
oh good. Yeah.
during then and let him
Yeah.
sit.
And if you think you can't watch him, then obviously leave the cone on. But just sometimes to give Hess a break when he was and the same with Tank when he had eye surgery. If I knew I could sit with him and watch him, then I let him take the cone off.
Okay.
Inflatable ones are awesome.
That's what
I've heard about those.
Yeah,
but
They are great because then the dog can still turn and they can see. They don't bang into things like when they have the cone on.
Well, I thought about trying one of those neck pillows while I've got him, just put one of those on and see what he does. It's got to be about the same as those little.
Yeah, but he can get it
inflatable.
off.
Yeah.
He could get a neck pillow off.
Well, but while he's sitting with me is what I meant. Just
Right.
something a little less than the cone.
Yeah, I have an inflatable that I'm going to try here pretty soon.
I love them.
So.
There's canvas cones that I bought a bunch of them and gave them to Janet about 2 years ago.
Canvas cones.
They're
Yeah, we
canvas.
still
They're
have
soft.
Yeah,
So-
we still
Oh,
have
yeah,
them.
yeah, we use those all the time. Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, that's what Tank had.
So these buttons that you told me about last at the training,
Yeah.
this one you can record on it.
Oh, cool.
So,
Yes, Wilson. Yes, Wilson.
Oh, that's so cool.
it's on Amazon.
Mine
It was
just
like
went
10 or 12 bucks. I forget what it was.
Yeah. Oh my gosh, that's so
And you
cool.
can record 30 seconds worth of stuff. And you can change
Wow.
the recording so you get a different dog, get a different recording.
Yes. Very cute.
So do you think New Horizons would want this comb when Alvin's done?
You don't think you're going to need it?
Oh, I don't know. I mean,
You'll need it for your next dog.
There you go.
It's the kind of thing you put up in the garage and then 2 years later you go, why do I still have this comb?
I know. I had a yard sale this weekend. Believe me, I was like, why do I still have this stuff?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you all.
You're welcome. Thank you.
Have a good evening.
Where in Winter Park are we going to meet? At the train station like
Yeah,
last
the
time?
train station. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And you said you're going to go on a train ride. You remember what?
Yes, I need to put that out. I'm going, my plan right now is to go next Friday, the 19th. Yes. Thank you for saying that, Linda. I need to put that out on our Facebook page and have Kate send that out for anybody who wants to do that. Yes.
And it's on the Sunrail, not the Amtrak, right?
Correct. Yes. Yep. And Dina, you are all the way over in Clearwater, correct?
Yes,
So we're
Clearwater.
going to try to have a training over there in a few months. So if you could be thinking of a place somewhere over on that side that we could do a training, Tampa or I don't know, somewhere. I'm not familiar with that area, but I think our goal is to so every 3 months is to shift it to different parts of the state. So April's will
Open space, is that what you're looking for?
Yeah, probably. Yeah. I mean, it'd be great. So April, May, June, July. So maybe it'd be July or August. If there was an inside place we could do it, that'd be awesome. I mean, a mall probably would be okay.
Awesome. I'm in St. Pete too, so.
Okay, yeah.
Patty said her church usually allows her to use her inside space.
What does?
Patty's church.
Oh, Patty Goff. Yes.
Yeah, but there's not a lot of room inside.
I've never been there, so okay.
Oh.
Yeah, there's not a lot of.
Well, I don't know, because I was there with the gym when we did recipient
Check-ins.
I don't know. Yeah, didn't I meet you to bring you food? Yes, I thought so. That seemed like a long time ago. So I mean that would be an option. I don't know how many people are over on that side of the state.
I don't think we know how many people are on this side of the state. I
So-
walked out of Hobby Lobby and ran into a New Horizons dog like a few weeks ago, and I was like, and I didn't have a dog with me, so I looked like crazy lady being like, oh my gosh, you have a service dog.
Oh, that's right. What, you know, the dog who was?
It was Sport.
Oh, okay.
Dog's name was Sport.
Yeah.
It was a younger girl, but
Yeah.
it was just so funny because I was like, no, actually, I have one of those at home. I
You're
promise.
just with me.
It's Christmas and I'm not going shopping at Christmas time with a dog.
Right, right. Oh gosh, that's funny. Yeah, so I think there are people over there. I just don't know how many. So the director and I talked last weekend about kind of figuring out how many people are where. So
Yeah, even if we need to host something here when you guys are doing something else there, even just if it's just kind of a round robin, something
Mhm.
that would help, us to just make sure that our dogs are staying in check. Cause I mean, sometimes I can make the trip, but all the way over there is just kind of.
well, we're always looking for like, what were we calling them? I wish Laura was still on. We had a name for like a representative. I mean, really, that's all I do. I just happen to be crazy enough to pull everybody together and want to train all these people with their dogs, So, I mean, if you.
But I've thrown my hat in the court a few times and no one's picked it up. So because I said that I've been doing dog training since I was 15. And then, so, I mean, I'm happy to help any way I can within the organization.
So maybe once we come over there, that will be the established time. And then you can do that. I mean, really, that's what we need. We need for it to be spread out because I can't go to everybody and the director can't go to everybody. Kay can't get to everybody. So, it would be great if there was somebody on the West Coast who was willing to pick up that gauntlet. And
I got free time, life.
Well, and it's nice because then everybody comes and you.
Do you know how many Girl Scout cookies I have in my garage? Too many.
You're hired.
Well, Dina, you could come to the next training and sell them.
There you go.
Yeah, I have a Girl Scout troop of 26 girls, so we go through. Well, I think we did 4,500 boxes of cookies this year. So
wow. 26 girls.
Yeah, well, it's me and 3 other leaders, so it's not just me, but it's just it's 2 months of a lot of work. So you do what you gotta do.
Who is this puppy? Not
Is that Garth?
So no, this is the one that's taught Garth how to bark.
Oh, that's the naughty one.
Yeah. This is Scout. But I hate to actually ask a training question at this time of the meeting. Okay. But what's the best way to make sure that we're training Garth? Giving him the time, should we be separating them for dedicated training time? Because
I would sometimes, if you can get both of them to do the basics.
Oh yeah, sit and wait and sit and down. Together they're good on that, but obviously
with them, you know how to do puppy push-ups. Do
Garth
those
loves
with
them.
both of them. Yeah, I mean that type of thing you could do. Sometimes you want to do it alone because the goal is to get Garth where he needs to be. But yeah, absolutely.
Okay.
It's okay to do them together, and if you can give Garth some. I mean, obviously you're taking him out, so
yeah. My husband took Garth to work yesterday to give him dedicated out time. But we just want to make sure we're not neglecting Garth with having the new puppy.
Right.
So.
No, I totally understand. Yeah, you can kind of share them, and then yeah.
We noticed some backsliding when we had Cheetah. We brought Garth in as a puppy, and Cheetah was doing great. And then the puppy came in, and Cheetah lost some of his skills.
Gotcha.
And there's a little bit of that happening with Garth as well.
Okay.
The puppy comes in and they kind of misbehave a little more.
I mean, Garth found his back legs, which also means he's learned furniture. So we're monitoring that and keeping him off. But he's found his back legs that they propel him.
But is that normal for a little loss of skill?
Yeah, I mean, because your attention has shifted a little bit. You have a new puppy, so that's why I said if you can do sometimes some of their training together at the same time, except obviously when you go out. And if you can take him to work a couple of days or whatever works for you guys, so he's getting that one-on-one time.
Yeah, they definitely mirror some of each other's habits, and
Oh, I'm
you know,
sure.
obviously Garth is bringing some good habits to Scout, but there's also the reciprocal happening as well, where you know we're losing some, and
and teaching him to find his voice. So that's this guy. So
that puppy's pretty. It looks very
thank you.
cute.
He is. He's a lot lighter than we thought.
Is he
But
an
he's
English
the English cream. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah.
So, and I sent, it's from a hobbyist breeder down in South Florida. So I sent Kate the link because when I was at New Horizons, everybody was there that day, and so they were asking about him, but like with the AKC and the breeding and everything like that. So
right, cool.
But no, I mean, he'll be our constant, obviously, as we keep fostering, but they've been great together, and Garth has been good, but like fantastic with him, but we just want to make sure we're not neglecting the training for Garth in any way.
Right,
So,
right.
because we saw what happened when we brought Garth in with Tita. So,
Yep.
Yeah, I was thinking about getting one of the puppies. So I was wondering if maybe that might help this big guy feel a little bit more of a big brother than
a puppy and an older dog. The best combination. It is.
Yeah,
awesome.
during quarantine, that's what we had. We had Tuscany, but he was one of the ones that was put on hold.
You want to go down?
And then we got a puppy too, and it was like awesome because like potty was easy. You had someone to play with.
Yep.
So,
yep.
But I'm wondering if that would be beneficial to him because then he'll see somebody else who's not fearful.
Right. Yep. Absolutely.
So.
I think that's a great idea, Tina.
Yeah, so do I.
Would that be good for Wilson? But his behavior is not fear; it's aggression.
Right.
Yeah, we don't want that with a puppy.
Well, we don't know that he's like that with a puppy.
Yeah.
And
we don't. That's true. He's not like that with my cats, and my cats are kind of like puppies, but
yeah, you could take him to New Horizons and try him. There's puppies up there.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, see what happens.
When you go in April, are people going to spend the night? Obviously, there?
Yep. I'm looking into a hotel. My husband actually was looking for me. I had texted Estely Marcheseau, who's down there, and she's gave me some places, and so yeah, I'm gonna find a hotel, and I'm gonna give it the information to Kate so she can put it out in an email for anybody who's interested. So my goal is to leave Friday afternoon and stay till Saturday afternoon.
And that's in April?
Yes, the last weekend in April, I believe. April 20. Yeah, I don't know.
Whereabouts in South Florida is this?
It's in West Palm.
Oh.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, it's about 2 hours and 50 minutes right from here.
Yeah. My sister has a place in Delray Beach. So.
Oh, okay. Well, there you go.
I might have a place to stay.
There you go. How many rooms does she have?
Yeah.
Well, if her kids are there, she's got a couch. That's about it.
The only thing I would worry about getting a puppy that I was just thinking with Victor is he's still not fixed. So I'd probably have to have that done before we bring the puppy in. So
well, because I mean, I don't know it. I don't know that it makes a difference other than they'd have to go through that 14-day period of not playing, really. You know.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, so that's just the thing is he's so fearful of everything. I didn't want to like bring him to a vet and like throw him at that. So I'm kind of like hoping that we can get.
Yeah, but it's only one day. I mean, you know what I mean? Like
I guess. I mean, I just get some rubber bands, it'll be fine. But no. No, but I just
oh my goodness.
He's just so beautiful and he's so smart.